Rich Little never walked into a room by himself. Carson, Stewart, Reagan, Sinatra, and half of Hollywood seemed to follow along, usually without anyone inviting them.
Yeah, geez, down in the 40s, boys, down here.
It's like the day it was new, kid.
Then all of a sudden, I awoke. The dream was over.
What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?
The voice was funny enough. The real damage started when the celebrity heard it, recognized every little habit, and realized Rich had been studying everything. The couch looks harmless, but Rich immediately turns Carson's own show against him. One guest becomes a full celebrity invasion, and Johnny realizes his desk offers absolutely no protection tonight.
I tried to run the Tonight Show properly, but they fought me at every turn. And Johnny wants to run around doing lousy impressions, no more, no less. They encouraged the crew to scoff at Tommy Newsom and tell him he had a great personality. He just had that. The best way to do bogey is to kind of get your tongue all mixed up inside your voice. So it's just
Do it from the inside out or the outside in. You know what I mean by that, of course.
Yeah, well, I do bogey really from the inside looking out. In other words, I get so totally involved in doing bogey with little put-me-downs or,
All right.
Bogart is more than a rough voice. Rich reveals the tiny physical switch behind the illusion, proving one small facial change can summon an entire movie star on command.
Jim Stewart, I sang. I did Jimmy Stewart singing in an album once. Cooking.
That's where you're great.
Jimmy Stewart is dangerous because Rich understands the silence. He stretches every pause until anticipation becomes the joke, then turns that nervous rhythm into music while Carson completely loses it.
Kind of tied up, and I just don't think that I'm gonna be able to. And I answered him. I said, to make it. I said, that's right.
to say, I did him singing in this album, and I'd never heard him sing, so I had to kind of guess what he would sing like. And I did him singing people who need days. I'll phone Rich Little, bring him down to the studio, and he will dub it for you. And Jack went.
Well, listen, if you're gonna go to that much trouble, why don't you get Jan Pierce to do it?
Years of chasing Sinatra finally seem worth it. Rich is confident, polished, ready to show off, then discovers the voice he admired was the original. He had completely fooled himself.
Oh, Reno saying, I don't know how this sounds. I think, it wasn't too bad. And I turn on the machine, and, you will be my... Sinatra comes up. I go, I can't. Tom Jones, and my newly was good. This could be my best impression. This is fantastic. Now, I don't usually go around, saying that, hey, I, do this well, but I'll tell you this.
This is Johnny Carson. Welcome to the. I am so old. Funny you should ask that. I am so old. I went streaking on the beach the other.
Carson can laugh at being copied. The next victim built his career attacking first, which makes watching his own weapon come flying straight back at him feel even sweeter tonight.
A really great talent, Mr. Rich Little.
At the 1974 roast, Don Rickles is surrounded by people trying to insult him. Rich chooses a sharper plan. He builds an entire world where Rickles is powerful enough to terrify everybody.
Thank you, Dean, for that strange introduction.
Don usually strikes first, so Rich plays nice just long enough to make it suspicious. Then the roast turns clinical, Rickles becomes the diagnosis, and somehow the whole world suffers.
Hey, it really is an honor to be here tonight, to pay tribute to this truly outstanding human being, Don Rickles. Not many people take part in a series of experiments being conducted at the UCLA Medical Center. See, they're trying out new drugs on Don to see if they're safe for rats. Hey, I've really been looking forward to this occasion. In fact, a few nights ago, I had a dream about Don Rickles. Just my luck. Actually, it was more a nightmare. White House in Washington for a conference to bring peace to the world. And in my dream, Don Rickles was President of the United States. Some of the things that President Rickles was saying in my dream. King Faisal of Saudi Arabia. Anyway, then, may I say something, Your Highness? And I say this from the bottom of my heart. You gotta be the ugliest king I've ever seen in my life.
Every new leader brings another voice, but Rickles stays the disaster. Rich turns diplomacy into a roast marathon, where presidents change, countries change, and absolutely nobody gets out alive.
Popsy tongue. Oh, I love you. You're a wonderful little guy. You little taggy. I know you got a lot on your mind, but try and remember next time. No starch on the coat. You doing here tonight, you hockey puck? What'd you do, get a note from the Russians saying you could take the night off? Incidentally, is that a beard or you sticking your head under your armpit? Is he coming towards me? Huh? If you see teeth, it's not an ivory hunt. Anyway, gang, is Miss Fanner down sitting around the house discussing your next series? Anyway, gang, hey, look who's here, all the way from the Soviet Union, Mr. and Mrs. Brezhnev. Hey, Premier Tanaka of Japan. I saw. What are you looking so scared for, you hockey puck? John Wayne's not here tonight. Hey, last time I awoke. The dream was over. I was awakened by the telephone. I picked it up. It was Don Rickles' agent telling me he wanted $75,000 for appearing in my dream.
Rickles can take insults all night. The next legend has a much softer weak spot. Rich does not steal his jokes. He steals the silence that made them lethal.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's the best in the whole world when it comes to impersonating anybody.
Jack's voice is only half the trick. Rich steals the pause too. Then George Burns appears, money becomes bait, and suddenly, Jack's legendary timing is working against the man who invented it.
I don't know whether you've noticed or not, but Jack Benny's been doing a lot of TV lately. You know, I guess he got tired of sitting around and letting me do all the work for him. I don't know whether you've noticed or not, but Jack Benny's been doing a lot of TV lately. You know, I guess he got tired of sitting around and letting me do all the work for him. As a matter of fact, Jack is in so much demand lately that when NBC introduced a concept to use show business personality offer $1 million, and Jack said, "Hello, folks. This is Jack Benny in New York City with his 1,423rd."
And this is George Burns in Washington.
Once the fake newscast starts, Rich is not copying Jack anymore. He is running Jack's whole comedy machine without permission, bringing George Burns along to make the theft feel complete.
Go ahead, Jack. I think you go first tonight.
I went first last night and he almost killed me.
He would have, but it meant plane fare back to Washington. Now, here is the news. Benny Kabilski reporting. Today in New... You see, and you know. And the amount was said to be in excess of $4.5 billion. What does the mayor of New York plan to do with all that money? Buy Chicago?
Jack makes a ridiculous budget fix sound almost sensible. Then Stewart takes sports, and suddenly Benny looks lightning fast. One simple score becomes a marathon before that wandering voice finally gets there.
And here from Hollywood is my very good friend to give you all the sports, Mr. Jimmy Stewart.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks, Jack. Thanks, Jack. I'm here to I just don't understand. Why'd you hurry up? He's worse than I.
Jack survives having his timing stolen. Next, the safety rails disappear. One fake commercial on Carol Burnett's stage becomes a celebrity speedrun with zero mercy.
How about Ed Sullivan?
Carol calls him the man of 1,000 voices, and Rich takes it personally. One commercial unleashes Hollywood at full speed, with Kirk Douglas becoming easy prey for one brutal little sales pitch.
You know, more and more celebrities seem to be doing commercials on television these days. Now, I would like to give you my idea of what we have to look for.
With Press toothpaste, I get 23% fewer cavities. Which is remarkable when you stop.
How about Dean Martin doing a commercial? Oh, everybody loves somebody. Oh, I want to tell you. Yeah, here's a beer stain. Oh.
Dean Martin is already a walking punchline for the product, so Rich barely has to push. Then Karloff arrives, and suddenly an ordinary razor sounds like something requiring police tape.
How about Boris Karloff doing a commercial? Use slick razor blade on neat job, and they're very good for shaving too.
Are we on?
Now, ladies and gentlemen, 3 a day vitamin pills give me all the pep I need to get me.
Time to bring on the dead bear.
Now, they provide me with the vim and vigor.
Ed Sullivan promises energy while sounding drained, which is already brutal. Then Bogart turns insurance into intimidation, proving Rich can make boring products feel dangerous with one perfectly familiar voice.
Humphrey Bogart doing one. Now, listen, sweetheart. You never know when you or your loved one may be pushed down. Donate is our hospital protection plan. Just give $50 a week to a representative, and good health can be yours. And finally, Richard M. Nixon doing a commercial.
Oh, this is tricky dicky. I want to make this point crystal clear.
That commercial break becomes an impression marathon. But the next celebrity cannot laugh from a safe distance because Rich is about to make the original perform the copy.
What are you trying to say, Rich? What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?
At Jimmy Stewart's roast, Rich does not settle for copying him. He promotes himself to teacher, then makes the actual star sit through a lesson on being Jimmy Stewart.
Jim, it seems to me that
The impression lands before Rich needs to explain anything. Jimmy is sitting right there, but the posture, hesitation, and worried rhythm already make it feel like two versions exist.
I am grateful to you because you keep people like me working. No, I'm serious. It's so easy to do. I mean, anybody could do Jimmy Stewart. Even you could do you.
Jimmy politely thanks him, and Rich pounces. Calling the impression easy is cheeky enough. Then he claims the original is slipping, And suddenly Jimmy is getting corrected by his own copy.
I don't want to brag or anything, but I've noticed lately that your Jimmy Stewart is just, well, it just isn't what it used to be, you know?
A few pointers here. Now, the first thing you got to do is put your hand out like this and just kind of shake it like that. That's good. That's good. That's good. Right. Give it that. Like that. No, kind of squint them a little bit and bend over just a bit there. That's that. How do you think we feel? We've been watching you for 30 years do this.
The lesson gets stranger as Jimmy follows Rich's instructions, basically auditioning to play himself while his own impersonator coaches every famous little habit.
That's good. That little nose thing was great. That gives you a little character there. Now, I want you to put the hand out, look through the tops of your eyes and say, wow. Oh.
No good. That's terrible. I mean, that is bad. Did you ever hear such a bad...
Jimmy tries it, and Rich instantly becomes the judge. For a moment, the copy owns the original. Then Wayne enters, making Stewart's soft hesitation sound even stranger beside pure cowboy certainty right there.
Don't get me wrong, Pilgrim. I think you're a hell of an actor. But when it comes to Western, thing about Westerns, first day on the set, he comes to me and he says, Duke, is it true the harder you pull the trigger, the further the bullet will go? Didn't fill us up, but I'll tell you one thing, I haven't had a headache in over 37 years. But I don't agree with John Wayne, because I think some of Jimmy Stewart's best moments on the screen, you know, when he kind of comes up with them and goes,
All right, hold it right there, mister, hold it. Hold it. Real slow, like keep your hands where I can see them. Keep them up there. Keep them up. Oh, that's good. That's good. That's fine. That's
Teaching a legend to be himself feels impossible to top. Then Washington enters the roast, and suddenly another celebrity is receiving messages from people who definitely never called.
Our next guest, Rich Little, does so many impressions that when he talks in his sleep, his wife applauds.
Valerie gives Rich plenty to attack, but her career is only the start. Soon, politicians invade the roast, while Dean and Sammy get pulled in before she can even escape.
Thank you, Dean. As you know, I do an impression of you. Would you like me to do it so you know what you said? What do you drink anyway? This has got to be a put-on. This has got to be ginger ale.
That's ginger ale. I'm Sammy Davis, Jr.
Now, I do a lot of traveling, Valerie, and you've got even more fans than you think. When I was in Washington recently, some of your biggest fans...
Valerie's fame becomes political fan mail. Rich lets each voice expose its owner, from Reagan's polished warmth to Kennedy family chaos, until the congratulations sound even more revealing than flattering.
My wife, Nancy, and I watch your show every Monday night. And I must say that we...
Here's one from Teddy Kennedy.
Valerie, all of us Kennedys want to, of course, send you the very best into the roadie show. And if you add a couple of Catholic families on the block, well, that's enough to keep anyone in the top 10 for the next 50 years.
Here's a message from President Ford. Now, I'm not too sure how big a fan he is. President Ford.
Valerie and my fellow Americans.
Ford gets the word, and Rich gives him enough confidence to make a harmless television opinion sound like the start of another questionable presidential decision.
I'd like you to know that Congress introduced a bill to congratulate Valerie Harper on being Woman of the Year. Know that I vetoed it.
Valerie survives a fake Washington switchboard. Next, Carson gets something worse: receipts. Rich starts exposing the tiny habits Johnny probably hoped nobody else had ever actually noticed.
Just say, wear chinchilla shorts and I tip. Isn't that wonderful?
Carson asks how impressions are built, and Rich answers like a magician exposing the trick. Suddenly, every tiny Johnny habit sounds less private and more like complete public property.
I did an impression of John Wayne.
Could you psych yourself up, okay? I know you psych yourself into an impression. You have to. You actually become the character, and you feel when you do it. I know, having done a few.
I live better doing you than I can as myself. Whenever I see a heckler in the audience, I think, oh, I hope I'm doing Johnny by the time he heckles me.
So you can.
So I can.
Rich admits fake Johnny can think faster than real Rich. Then one tiny microphone slip gets captured, sharpened, and permanently added to the Carson impression, making the theft feel complete.
Okay, all right.
You know, I've been doing
Stop already.
28 days in Vegas at the Sands.
Yeah.
28. I'm exhausted. I don't know how you feel. You've been doing it all your life.
Yes, that's a long time up there.
And last night, was our closing night. I turned to say something to the orchestra as you, and when I came back, I hit my lip on the mic. Think for a minute. My God, I'm here. You know.
Liberace was in the other night. Golly, isn't he wonderful? He was sitting in the front row, and
With Liberace watching, Rich performs the theft right in front of him, then turns bridges into disaster. Nixon arrives next, where every nervous pause makes the impression feel dangerously guilty.
Lloyd Bridges is, I was underwater. Suddenly, a diver was seen in front of me. Good heavens. He had no fins on. I approached him cautiously. Very cautious. I took out my little underwater blackboard and chalk and wrote down,
I don't know what all the fuss is about. I hand it over to the House Judiciary Committee. All these... No. And I'll tell you why I didn't hand over the tapes. They're over full.
Frenetic. I was thinking of you playing tennis would be a good routine. Johnny Carson playing tennis.
Then Carson sees his tennis game stolen too. A voice can be blamed on sound, but matching the body removes every excuse. Rich has clearly been watching everything.
Then he said, P.S., you hold the cigar in the wrong hand. Signed, George Burns.
So I thought about that for a long time.
And you were holding
And I
the cigar.
sent him what happens. A week went by, a month went by, 2 months went by. Finally, and I'd forgotten all about the whole incident. I get another wire from George and it just says, Dear Rich, nobody likes a smart-ass George Burns.
Carson gets the uncomfortable backstage tour. The next victim gets no explanation at all. Just 4 famous voices lining up to roast him without ever entering the room. At the telethon, Rich has one problem: roasting Jerry without killing the charity show warmth. His solution is wonderfully unfair. He brings in famous men who never even arrived.
Well, I'm delighted to be here tonight and part of this Jerry Lewis. As a matter of fact, Jerry Lewis was the very first choice for the movie that I made, Bedtime for Bonzo.
Reagan sounds respectful until the compliment quietly turns poisonous. Then Stewart arrives sounding gentle enough to trust, which gives Rich the perfect cover for a story that keeps getting stranger.
You should hear what Jimmy Stewart says about him.
Jerry is the kindest, the most generous person I've ever met. I remember to the house in Beverly Hills, and I remember we were taking a little walk through the garden, and all of a sudden we away, and Jerry knelt down and very carefully he picked it up, and then he climbed up a big
70-foot tree.
The rescue story sounds heroic at first. Stewart's slow sincerity gives everyone time to imagine something noble before Rich ruins that beautiful picture with one detail.
Carefully put the little animal in the nest. And I thought it was one of the most compassionate things that I didn't have the heart to tell him it was a frog.
One detail detonates the tribute, turning every sweet compliment into setup. Then Carter loses himself, Nixon makes friendship sound criminal, and Jerry gets dragged into presidential chaos again without warning.
But it was a nice gesture. It was a nice gesture. And then Jimmy Carter, you should hear what Jimmy says about Jimmy.
Hi. Do you know me? Sometimes I don't even recognize myself. That's why I always kate when Israel asked our country for jets. Jerry was the first one to respond. He sent them 3 New York football players. That's the kind of a guy he is. Isn't it one thing? Thank you so much. God love you. Thank you so much.
Richard Nixon. You remember him. You should hear what he has to say about Jerry.
I remember the first time. I remember the first time that Jerry came to the White House. This guy had me on the floor with his funny stories, his anecdotes, and all that shtick that he does. Knowns that I have ever spent. As a matter of fact, Pat and I play that tape over and over and over again.
That was Rich Little at his most dangerous. He did not just steal voices. He stole the pauses, stares, nervous habits, and tiny quirks celebrities probably never knew anyone noticed. Carson watched himself get copied in real time. Jimmy Stewart somehow became the student. Rickles got his own attack style thrown straight back at him. And Jerry Lewis was roasted by men who were not even there. That was Rich's magic. The impression sounded familiar, but the tiny details made it brutal. So which impression was almost too accurate? And which celebrity reaction made you laugh the hardest? Drop your favorite moment in the comments. And if you enjoy seeing the real, awkward, and unforgettable side of Hollywood, hit like, subscribe, and stick around for the next one.